thank you all for joining this webinar on how does marketing automation impact your business. Now, I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with what marketing automation is, so I'm hoping that this webinar will explain a little bit more in depth as to what that is and how it applies to everyday inbound marketing methodologies. So yes, without further ado, let's just kick off into it. So the Blagenda today, that's a very clever way we call agendas here at Blended. I know, it's ingenious. We're going to be talking about Marketing Automation 101 to start off with, as I explained before, getting a little bit into the detail of what marketing automation actually means. Then 2, we'll talk about the automation sensation, which is how inbound applies to automation practices. And then 3, we'll talk about who's automating and how they're doing it. And 4, we'll talk about what you need to consider when considering marketing automation. And then we'll be talking a little bit about Blended and how we can help, and then answering any questions at the end. So, if you have questions throughout this webinar, feel free to just type them into the side panel there on the Google Hangouts, and I can answer them later on, or just feel free to jump in at the end. But for now, I'll just present and then we'll do questions at the end. All right, so here we go. So, Marketing Automation 101. How is marketing automation defined? Marketing automation is defined as a process whereby technology is used to automate many repetitive tasks that are undertaken on a regular basis in a marketing campaign. So essentially, it's removing a lot of the middle ground, a lot of middleman work, getting things up and running for your marketing practices. So it's a really handy tool for many assortments of marketing elements, such as email marketing, of course, is a big one. A lot of people utilize a lot of marketing automation when it comes to email practices. I'm sure a lot of you have been influenced by this one way or another. Of course, advertisements as well, it's a big one. SMS marketing, a lot of people don't know this, but SMS marketing can be conducted by a lot of marketing automation platforms these days, as well as landing pages as well. So this ties into launching landing pages and then tying into other things like what we just talked about, so email, advertisements, etc. And of course, social media, so social scheduling. It's a big automation practice that's been around for quite some time now, but it's become more and more refined as the years have progressed. Notifications as well, so that includes notifications for your customers and for your own internal team as well. Those can be automated across automation platforms. Blogging as well, you can now automate blogging so that they launch at certain times, within certain campaigns, across certain landing pages, within emails, within advertisements, within social posts, etc. And of course, video as well is a major thing, and that's become more and more popular. And now more marketing automation platforms have to become more robust to handle launching video campaigns. So, because obviously now most videos are HD quality and contain quite a high percentage of megabytes, so they have to be quite robust to handle doing automated practices when it comes to video. So that you know what entails with marketing automation and what it stands for, let's have a look at how that applies to the inbound marketing strategy or methodology. So for all of you not familiar with inbound simply applies to a circular motion as shown here on this flywheel. So it basically entails all the servicing, marketing and sales that surrounds the customer. And that can involve everything from any kind of automation practice to actually one-on-one dealings with customers, any customer service you might offer, reporting, anything like that. That's what inbound basically revolves around. And just to reiterate, marketing automation only works well within a well-defined inbound marketing strategy. So you can have the tools to the car, basically. You can have the best marketing automation platform out there, whether that be Salesforce, Adobe, HubSpot, whatever it might be. You may be using that, but really if you're not applying it with any inbound marketing strategy, you're kind of having a Rolls Royce and not really having the license to drive one, basically, or knowing the correct way to drive it, so you get the optimal performance out of it. So really, it's having both the platform to use as well as the strategy behind it that makes marketing automation work. So without further ado, we'll just talk about the automation sensation. And this is probably the funnest part of the slides that I'll go through today. Here's a great example here. So we got this guy, we'll just call him Joe. Okay, so Joe's your everyday customer or whatever, and he uses basically his phone to get most information out there. So when he's, say, looking for something to do one week, it might be during the midweek, he might be looking to do something on the weekend, he'll pop out his phone and look up and see what there is to do out there. So that point in time in the inbound marketing methodology, he's at what we call the awareness stage. So the awareness stage is whereby he doesn't really know what he's after. He's looking to do something, preferably entertain him on the weekend. So he whips out his phone and does a Google or does a search on social, or maybe he's just scrolling through his Facebook, for example. And then he comes across something like this. So he may come across, say, a video if he was scrolling through YouTube, for example, or looking at another video on YouTube and came across a trailer for a movie. So he came across that on YouTube, but then he may go to social and then come across as well a promotion by a specific theater for a particular movie. So at the same time, he is not only getting information about the movie, but the particular theater that's going to be hosting the movie or showing the movie in this case. And another thing, you might pop onto Instagram a bit later that day or the next day and then see an advertisement on Instagram, for example, where here it's actually not just the movie, but it's also the specific theater that is hosting the movie. And this is all done through the pixels, basically, that can track your geolocation, they can track your interests and all that kind of stuff, and then they show up within those specific social feeds like Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. So already they've targeted Joe here through his main use of searching for information, which is his phone, and so far he is progressed quite a lot down the queue of the awareness stage. So now he's entered the awareness stage and he's seen what's out there. He's noticed that The Lion King is playing that weekend. So then he recognizes that the theater AMC was the one he saw that was advertising The Lion King. So either he Googles them and finds AMC theaters, or he clicks on one of the ads that takes him through to AMC theaters, and then he looks for the availability to go and see The Lion King for that weekend. He finds his tickets, he books on the AMC theater website, and then he goes and sees the movie on the weekend. And he kind of likes it. Gives it 77% on Rotten Tomatoes there. I'd probably give it lower, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, The Lion King, he sees that, and he sees it on the weekend and gives it a rating, and that's pretty much it, right? Well, not necessarily, because if AMC theaters play their cards right, they would have acquired his information online when he booked with them. And having booked for that specific movie with his specific details, they classify him under a specific persona. So that's basically moved him into what a lot of companies do, is categorize their specific customers into personas or buyer personas or whatever you want to call it. In this case, they place Joe under Awesome Alex. And what that means is that he basically ticks most of these boxes that go underneath Awesome Alex from what they're able to acquire from him purchasing his ticket. So his age range is between 17 to 25. His interests include Disney, action, adventure, comedy. His locations in Glebe. his main device that he uses is mobile. The main activity he shows when looking on the website was between Thursday and Sunday, and to go see their movie as well. That takes into account that activity. Also, they classify his goal as to have a good night out with friends, as most people of that age group do. And the challenges he finds is seeing something good to see at the theatre and getting the best seats quickly as well, not only for himself but his friends as well. So having acquired all that information, basically what kicks off from then is the automation practices that can then follow through on all this information that AMC theatres can use, given whatever platforms they have, to basically be showing Awesome Alex here. Just trying to think of his name. Is it Joe? Is it Awesome Alex? Yes. So they're basically just trying to show Awesome Alex really specific stuff that ties in with his specific persona, that's hard to say, as clearly and as effectively and as specifically as possible. So they may do that through other practices that involve automation, such as sending him weekly emails to show him specific discounts, rewards and stuff that when he signed up previously he's now eligible for, and at the same time showing what's playing at the theatre through that email as well. And as you can see, that email there is catered specifically for his mobile device, because that's how he booked last time, and they recognize that within his persona. Another point is doing SMS marketing as well. So they may not do this as regularly for this specific person, for this persona, but it is something that can be done now and again to show very specific promotions that are available for those weekends that it's shown that he signs up for. And the other thing is that he might have also downloaded the AMC app, so they can send push notifications to his specific account for certain movies he might have interest in, and that's all done automatically. So there's no actual human involvement here in reaching out to Alex, but it is all done specifically and effectively with automation practices. And so this is a great example of a customer journey. And yeah, that's basically it. So a customer journey is in effect something that looks like this. It can obviously vary from business to business, person per person. If Alex was under a different persona, that was of someone that was of a different age range, of a different location, has different goals and different challenges tied in with that, then there would be other ways that AMC theatres could look at automating their marketing towards that specific person. But in this case, they nailed it. So that's just one way there of how inbound methodology applies to how automation practices work. So in a sense, what you've got here is the customer journey, which we also call the customer experience. The customer experience is basically attributed by everything, including the product, the service, the marketing, the customer service, the point of sale, and if there's a call center as well, any kind of direct communication you have with that customer. That all falls under the customer experience, which marketing automation can sit on top of a lot of those things. Obviously, nothing will replace the one-on-one interaction a human can have with another human, but marketing automation doesn't necessarily aim to remove that entirely. It only aims to improve and perfect it. So, how automation plays into inbound. So let's look at this sort of as a more holistic overview, just to recap. So we have there Awesome Alex, or Joe, I don't know what to call him anymore, but anyway, he's there at the starting stage, which is the awareness stage of inbound. So at the awareness stage, like I said before, he doesn't know what he's looking for. He looks on Google, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. He comes across blogs, ads, landing pages, videos, or any other kind of social stuff that might be showing up on that specific platform he's looking for. And the kinds of things he's asking himself is, what do I want? What should I do? What options do I have? Is there any info out there? Is there a solution, or others thinking what I'm thinking? He's sort of just umming and ahhing at that point. And once he's gone through that awareness stage, he goes into the consideration phase, or consideration stage, whereby he looks at further blogs or landing pages, or he might attend a webinar, or he might look at another video, or if he's subscribed to something, he might be sent emails or SMSs or social notifications, or even in-app notifications. And at this point, in the consideration phase, he's thinking, okay, I think I know what I want. I think I should do this. I should weigh up my options. Are there any offers to sweeten the deal? Is this convenient and accurate to what I want? He's kind of going eeny, meeny, miny, mo at that point. And that then furthers into the last bit of the inbound methodology, which is the decision stage. Can't talk today. And in the decision stage, he'd be then deciding, okay, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, this looks like the best option, there's the deal there, bingo, I'm going to go for that because of that option as well, is really good, ties into everything nicely, it's good timing, and it's the perfect location, take my money basically. And what he's doing at that decision phase could involve a few things. Up there we have above there, he could call a call center to make a booking, he could have a direct contact one-on-one with someone in person, or he could just make an online transaction. So there's many options there at the decision phase that Alex can make. And so overall, this is kind of how the inbound methodology wraps up in a nice little bow. So if we have a look there at the beginning where it says strangers, that's when they're looking through umming and ahhing, like we saw with what Alex was doing, and they're attracted by things like blogs and keywords and social publishing that show up within the specific context that he's looking at, either that's Google or Facebook or whatever. And then he becomes a visitor to that and has a look through the blog or looks through the social post. And then he does some sort of call to action there to convert. So he might fill in the form to get more information. He might click a call to action to, say, like a page or follow an Instagram channel or whatever it might be. And then at that point, he becomes a lead. So at that point, it's whereby whatever's happening within that phase is to close him on the specific endpoint for that specific purpose. So either that's through CRM practices, emails, or any other kind of workflows that attribute to that sale being made. And at that point, when the deal is closed, he becomes a customer. And it doesn't actually stop at that point. At that point, you want to continue to actually delight him, so then he becomes a promoter for your brand. And the delight phase might be, like we saw before with what AMC Theatre was doing, was sending promotions, discounts, deals, etc. through things like SMS, email, or in-app promotions, or any other way that they might be doing that. Other things they can be doing to further delight the customer is to actually improve their process as well. And this is something that AMC Theatres would have done to begin with before they got to getting that real streamlined process that we saw before. And things like surveys, smart content, and social monitoring, social surveys, even direct calls to call up and ask, did we do well? All that kind of stuff. That is really good for delighting the customer as well, because they feel valued, and that also helps bring more value to the brand as well. And at that point, hopefully, the customer becomes a promoter and promotes other strangers, and the whole inbound circle continues. So, I hope that wasn't too much information for everyone, but I tried to cover as much ground as I could there, because now I want to just jump into talking about who's automating and how they're automating. So there are several platforms out there that allow for automation practices, and there are quite a few out there. I won't talk about them all, but these seem to be the top headliners that come up a lot of the time, especially when I talk to my customers. They talk about Salesforce, they talk about Adobe, they talk about HubSpot. Adobe owns Marketo, so yeah, that's basically why that's there. But I just labeled these top three because these are the top three I usually get. And they all have different attributes to them. A lot of them have great reviews, and a lot of them are more niche. A lot of them offer only specific things like sales automation. Some offer both marketing and sales, or some just offer marketing. But if we have a look there at Pardot, Marketo, and HubSpot, you can see that there is quite a lot of information online that differentiates them in terms of price and the quality, and also the reviews people are putting out there. If you have a look at the pricing there, you can see Pardot's definitely one of the most expensive. It's owned by Salesforce, so that makes sense. You've got Marketo there that is basically priced per contact inquiry per customer, so it's tailor-made most of the time. And HubSpot there is very, very clear with their pricing, and they're one of the few there that actually offer a free trial for most of their things, like the marketing hub or even the sales hub or whatever that they might be offering up there currently for that point in time, for that whatever promotion they're running. They do offer free trials a lot of the time, but most of the time HubSpot CRM, well, all the time HubSpot CRM I should say, is free to use. So that's one way they stand out over Pardot and Marketo and other automation platforms. But that's not to say that Pardot and Marketo aren't better or equally as good. It is subjective, obviously, to the company that you're in. I would say Pardot is probably better for companies 20 plus people, maybe 50 plus, 50 to 200. Marketo probably similar, maybe on the higher side, because it does offer a lot of in-depth tools. But really you need sort of a large team to be handling those kinds of tools, and making such an investment with those larger platforms may be at your own detriment if you don't have the necessary resources to handle them. Which is why HubSpot is so much more favorable to a lot of people, because it actually offers not only tools that are attributed to much smaller teams, say from 1 to 10 people, but they can offer also enterprise solutions as well. Probably not as powerful as something like Pardot and Marketo, but still equally quite useful. And as you can see there by the reviews there, they've got the most reviews, nearly 4,000 currently, on this platform, which is called G2. If you want to look at g2.com.au, you can compare platforms, and I just chose to compare Pardot, Marketo, and HubSpot here. HubSpot having the highest at the moment. But yeah, as you can see there, it's probably quite a useful tool to have if you're considering what kind of platform you may want to use at some point, or want to recommend to your customers as well. So how does, for example, automation workflows work within these kinds of platforms? So HubSpot, I'm going to just look at as an example here because it's probably the easiest to follow. And I'll just show you through an example workflow that we ran through our automation practices here. I've chosen to just white label, so any black bars you can see there, we've just covered up our customer their information just for security purposes. But yes, we'll just have a look at this example. So as you can see here, we've got the workflow that we labeled for their particular vertical target, which was for retail clients they want to target, and the life cycle they were in, so subscribers. So that means in terms of the inbound methodology, where they were is currently at the awareness stage if they're a subscriber. So they're basically still umming and ahhing and looking for a solution to their problem, and they might not even be sure what their problem is. So a subscriber or a new lead, a lot of the time is considered to be within the awareness stage. And the awareness stage can branch out for weeks, months, years on end sometimes, depending on the size of the sale the particular customer is going to make, or the particular company is trying to press on the customer. So if we look at the enrollment triggers there below, you can see there that the start of the workflow is that if anyone has filled out a particular form on a particular page and his industry is equal to retail, or has clicked the call to action that triggers a form that they have to put in their email and first name and last name, for example. So when that happens, that enrollment trigger goes off, and what gets sent next is a notification, which is an in-app alert to the team responsible for that particular customer. So it'll be sent to specific team members, so it might be sent to the sales manager and a few of the sales reps, or it could be sent to the marketing manager and a few of the managers that overlook the marketing. So that gets sent, and then in the next 10 minutes, the first automated email gets sent directly to that customer, which outlines what the customer was looking for when they subscribed to that particular enrollment form. And it's specific to their vertical as well, so it contains all kinds of information related to retail in particular in this case. So when that email gets sent through, that says awareness campaign. Yep, we know that already. So when that email gets sent through, it then branches off. So it's important to have branch offs when you consider workflows, because a lot of people sometimes will sign up for one bit of information they found on one of your pages. That's it, they subscribe to only, and then they want to opt out of it. So you have to have the branch that basically says, did they opt out, yes or no? If they did opt out, where it says yes there, then a delay happens, and in 10 minutes an email there gets sent saying, we're sorry to see you go, thank you for subscribing for the time you did. And it might even contain in that email, say, a survey saying, why did you unsubscribe, or blah blah blah, whatever it might be. It may not be as elaborate as that, but it'll be usually something like that. And then what happens is the automation within the HubSpot platform then allocates those people who opted out to a particular list, which becomes a static list. So you don't necessarily lose all the people that you enrolled to begin with. You just put them on a static list, but you don't do anything with them because they're opted out of any kind of marketing material, and it would be illegal to to keep sending them stuff. But you can keep them in a separate list, so you can see either not to target them or keep them for future reference if they do eventually become a customer at some point or subscribe again. So it's handy to keep it in a separate list is what I'm saying. But if they don't unsubscribe, which is usually what we're aiming for, then what happens is we don't want to be spamming people a lot of the time with constant emails about more information. A lot of the time that just becomes annoying. I know I've been seeing a lot of it lately when I subscribe to a lot of things like workshops and events. I get constant flow of people saying, hey, I didn't hear back from you, blah, 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 which is all automated stuff. And, great, good for them for doing it. But a lot of the time, it does deter a lot of people. And the best thing to do is to space out the time that you send them stuff. And in this case, we delayed the next action to not happen until 7 days later, which is actually good and quite a common practice, and shows the most click-through rate of most other practices when it comes to re-emailing people who have subscribed. Because it basically reminds them, oh yeah, well, I subscribed to them. And at the time, you have to put in some sort of heading within the next email you send them 7 days later, which basically holds whatever marketing information they originally subscribed to. So if they subscribe to retail information from your company, then they're not going to want information about, say, real estate or financing or something like that. So it's very, very important to make sure they're in correct segmented lists. And in this case, they would have been sent an email there which furthered the conversation on basically knowledge that your company is knowledgeable about. So in this case, retail information. And so then they sent that email 7 days later. They may read through it or not. They may click through things or not, whatever. But then you have your next branch during this awareness campaign, still in the awareness campaign, as you can see, which is the same outcome again. You either have them yes or no to being opted out. If they opt out yes, then you do the same process as we discussed before with that automation. But if not, then you send them another email 7 days later. Now, I'm saying email in this case, but you could have it, say, as a social notification or an in-app notification or something like that. But in this case, I'm just saying email. But delayed 7 days later, after you sent them that other email, then the same process takes place. You may repeat this process over and over again over 4 weeks, 8 weeks. A lot of people can, do this over time. You're not basically hard selling them throughout this whole process either. You're just giving them information and making them aware of you constantly, and giving them the trust in you that you're an authoritative figure on this. Basically, you're an industry specialist and you know what's going on, and they're basically just getting dribbles of information from you, which is handy for them. Not to get the hard sell all the time as well, is not deterring them. And once after several times of this happening within the awareness stage, you want to have the next enrollment form, which is basically pushing them away from the awareness to the consideration phase. And this is where this next branch happens here. So you enroll them into another workflow, which is the consideration workflow. And then if they basically click a call to action on there within that next bit of information they get sent within this workflow, say it might be subscribing to a webinar or a workshop or whatnot, then once that once that call to action is hit, then a notification gets sent to the appropriate team members, and they go, okay, so now we see some people progressing into consideration phase, and this is the point in time where we want to be filtering them out even more so to find the appropriate people we eventually want to sales qualify. So at this point in time in consideration, you're marketing qualifying them to make sure that they are the right kind of people you want to be targeting, filtering out any people that would be, a waste of time for both you and them, and then becoming more sales qualified, so someone you can actually sell your product or service to. And after that, of course, then what happens is, you have them attend the workshop, the webinar, whatnot. You send them a thank you email for attending or whatever it might be, a follow-up email from that. And in that follow-up, you say, hey, why not have a chat with one of our sales reps, or why not have a coffee sometime with us, or whatever it might be, some sort of soft sell that progresses on there, because at that point, you've built up their trust, you've built up their information and their value in you. And at that point, it's going to become a lot easier to approach them directly and then further sales qualify them for their budget, for their requirements, whatever it might be. And then hopefully from there, they become a customer. So yeah, as you can see, their consideration campaign. Okay, so we'll just finish this off saying what you need to consider. So when it comes to automation practices, what you need to consider about it is that it is simplifying complex business processes, of course. And it's achieving digital transformation for what might be a very sort of clunky, hands-on approach you've taken constantly with your customers or clients. Improving the service delivery time as well. When you automate things, they arrive on time. And also increasing the service quality as well. So like I said before, sending retail stuff to potential retail clients and not other stuff that's irrelevant. Okay, so that's quality stuff as well, and also always your best stuff, whether that be sending them blogs or videos or social posts or whatever it might be that attributes best to them. And then also it's really good for retaining and re-upping customer relationships as well. So, it's constantly saying that, you're not too much in their face to them, but you're remembering them as well. And in a lot of digital stuff you put forward with automation practices these days is very personalized. So you can say, hey, Frank, how you going? How's your such and such business going? A lot of the time, people don't realize that you can put in certain tags within emails that actually target specific people on a personal level. So that's another way to keep and maintain good relationships with your customers. And of course, there is containing company marketing costs as well. So it's a lot easier with automation to basically forecast what you need to spend per month, and then keep it to that and not increase or decrease it depending on what your budget is or if your budget allows for that. Here's a great quote by Matt Cutts from Google. He says, "It is guaranteed, no matter what industry vertical you operate in, someone is doing work better than you by taking automation seriously right now and leaving you in the dust. Whether it's by next week or in 2 years from now, you will feel it." And I couldn't agree more. I mean, the competition now, you can probably see out there, are doing a lot to do with automation. And if you're not following suit, then you could be sort of left at a point where it might be too late. But that's not to say it's all doom and gloom. I don't mean to be a downer on that, but it is true. The competition can get ahead of you. It's like when SEO started becoming a thing. A lot of the companies that adopted it earlier on, getting a website, getting optimal content on their website, doing blogging, doing social, whatever, those companies now are way outperforming their competition from back then that just decided, it's just not going to bother or not going to take it seriously. So it's something to take into account now, because basically automation itself is becoming ever more simplified. The tools you have available now, literally anyone can use. I use HubSpot as an example here because I find it's the most user-friendly. But if you look to the left there, you can see not all of them, but a lot of the automation platforms that are out there right now. You've got things like Oracle, Inform, you've got NoCRM, Salesforce, Adobe, SAP, which is Hybris. So you've got a lot of options out there. And there's a lot of reviews out there that can help point you in the right direction. But if we use HubSpot as an example, I've highlighted a few points in there. For example, the one in the middle where it says our mission is to make the world more inbound. So that goes to show that that's what automation is all about. And also they offer a powerful free CRM for you to get started with as well. Obviously, once you go up to the paid level, it's quite a leap from there, but they allow you a lot of time to get used to the tools before you make that leap. It's intuitive and simple, one video reviewer says there, Nicole there says that. It's also the best tool for email automation. I couldn't agree more. I use it all the time. And convert more leads with landing pages that take minutes to build. So again, simplifying the automation practice. You know, the tools there are so simple to use, drag and drop these days with widgets within any kind of platform that's available for automation is a very common thing to see these days. So yeah, I advise just signing up for one like HubSpot and just trying it out for yourself. And to further the conversation on that, so then how can we help when it comes to that? Well, I often like to say, a bit like what I was saying before, you may get the keys, you may get the car keys, but you need to learn how to drive first. So, you know, we offer at Blended Digital, not Belong. We offer marketing automation, transformation, analytics, and reporting, and any kind of consulting you might have a need for when it comes to automation practices. Our main pillars of automation stem from doing everything from the beginning points where you may or may not have an automation platform, and then you want to devise a strategy around using it. So we help you basically crawl first with devising that strategy, and then we can actually help execute or implement that strategy with you and your team. And then we do enablement as well, which is, again, helping you get your driver's license, basically, for your platform. Enablement means training and empowerment over the platform. So at the end of the day, you know, you'll basically be able to take the keys and drive yourself. And that's what we like to see our customers do. And, you know, that's how we like to run things and empower people. And some of the customers we've done that for, as you can see here, NRMA, ANZ, Toyota, YMCA, etc. And so that basically covers my webinar. I hope it wasn't too heavy for everyone involved. But yeah, I'd like to take any questions now that anyone might have. So I'll just jump into the chat there. But if there aren't any questions, you can jump off now. And I want to thank you all for attending this webinar on how marketing automation can impact your business.